You know, I'm an English professor, and we read probably hundreds of essays per semester. And I don't mind reading them, but the ones that get on my nerves are the ones where the students are just phoning it in. We've all written those kind of essays. You're just filling in space, right number of words. But what worries me about that is not that they're doing that, but that it could be a sign of something more severe, which is kind of a detachment from life itself. And it's just an expression of that. So what I decided to do in my classes is to challenge my students to engage in life. But I think this is just a general practice and a way of living to challenge people to engage in life. So for example, with my students, I have them look at a Caravaggio painting, and I say, what do you think? And they react about like you did just now. And maybe a few people are like, oh, I like the red, or, you know, I think they're having dinner. Okay, so they react, but most people are silent. Most people just let other people react. And that worries me a little bit. That's kind of a disengagement from life. So I show them a video, which I'm not going to show now, but a video from John Berger's Ways of Seeing, where he has school children look at the same painting and have them react. And they're talking over each other, they're theorizing about the painting, they're identifying with the characters. And I asked my students, I said, what happened to you that you were then? Because it isn't just about growing up. It's about maintaining some sense of curiosity and confidence and engagement in life. So to think about this, I want to consider a story, a legendary story about Alexander the Great. And he is invading portions of not modern India, but what they called India at the time. And he passes some philosophers. And as he passes the philosophers, they begin to do what? You probably guessed. And he stops and he says, why are you doing that? And this is what they say. King Alexander, each of us only owns as much land as we're standing on. You're only human like all of us. But in your arrogance and your restlessness, you make our lives and your own miserable. But soon you will die and need only enough land to bury your corpse. Pretty severe thing to say. So what do you think they believed about life that enabled them to say that? The first thing I think they realized is that we talk about renting and owning, right? You own your house, rent your house. You're only renting in life, period. Yes? And we don't even, in the end, have our own bodies. So what do we actually have? About 2 square feet of shifting ground. That's all I can really own, and that's all I ever will own. I took my children, my daughter, my son, and a French exchange student to Kentucky's Red River Gorge. I don't know if you've been there, it's amazing. I wanted to find a place that I'd been to once, but I forgot the name of. So we're driving around, we're looking at all different kinds of beautiful places, and every time we'd be like, back in the car, this isn't it. And finally, at the end of the day, we got to the place. It was a place called Chimney Tops Overlook. And you walk out and you're looking at one of the largest gorges in that part of the country. As we walked out over it, we all walked out together, and everyone fell into silence. My son was only 11. My daughter was 14. This is pretty amazing that they fell into silence. And we just stood there, looking over the edge, feeling the breeze, enjoying the sight. And after a while, we started talking, and then everyone, as the sun set, we started to go back to the car. But I didn't. I was standing back, just like, oh, I don't leave. And my daughter turned back to me, and this is what she says. Amazing. She says, Dad, if you hold on to it too long, you lose it. And my head just swam. Like, wow, I can't believe my daughter just said that to me. But I think there's something in what she's saying there, that I think to own your 2 square feet means to speak your truth. She'd experienced that truth, and she was speaking it to me. So the philosophers and my daughter knew, speak your truth. And Alexander and I both knew what? Listen when someone speaks that truth and learn from them. Some time ago when I was a child, my sister and I went to a mirror maze. I don't know if you've been to one of those. We were about that age. And when we got inside, my sister was just running through this thing. And I was like, boom, boom. Completely lost. And she runs back to me after I'm crying because I'm stuck in this thing. She runs back to me, and all she says to me is, look at the floor. If there's a line, there's glass or a mirror. So just walk where there's no line. I was amazed. I was even more amazed because the word amaze can mean to get out of a maze. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so life itself is a maze. And as we get through those mazes, we can live an amazing life. Yes? And also what's important is we can show each other the lines in the floor. I was in undergrad, and I lived with a guy named Chris Orndorff, and I've recently become reacquainted with him, and he's just as, I should say, amazing as ever. And he used to greet me every day with the same thing. Hey, Keith, isn't it great to be alive? And I reacted like Eeyore reacts to Winnie the Pooh. Like, this guy is an idiot. Because for me, I was living away from home for the first time. I was very lonely and isolated, and I had been struggling with staying off of drugs and staying away from the friends that were involved in drugs, and I was reeling from losing my first love relationship through breaking up, as you do when you go to college sometimes. So I was about as disillusioned as a human being could possibly be, and I thought, you are detached from reality, dude. But every day he would say that to me. So it took a while, but it became what they now call a meme in my head. And I began to think about it, and I thought, the word disillusion means to get out of an illusion. I am pissed because I was living in an illusion. Now I'm out of it. So the point is, it isn't light, it isn't whether it's sunny, like today, or rainy. It's that I can experience sun and rain, right? And it's not whether the glass is half full or half empty. It's just being astounded that there's such a thing as a glass or water or me to perceive it. Do you see what I'm saying? So Chris was not delusional. He was awake. I think life is not about what we own. It's about owning life, and that's what he was showing me. And all of its beauty and all of its madness. It's like Meg Ryan says in the wonderful film Joe versus the Volcano, if you want to get a short version of what I'm trying to say. Some ways, it's here. Almost the whole world is asleep. Everybody you know, everybody you see, everybody you talk to. Only a few people are awake. And how do they live? They live in a state of constant, total amazement. So I think to own square feet is to live a life of amazement in the maze of life. I think it's to learn to let go as well as we can grasp. I think it's to need to stamp out my own truth and to listen when you stamp out your truth and to change as I hear it. I think it's all of those things, but I think the most important thing it is to help each other find the lines on the floor. So after all, it's better to own 2 square feet now before all we have is 6. So, stamp with me. Nice. Thank you. Namaste.